Brian Cox found himself in an awkward moment on Wednesday after Ripa couldn't help but let her nosiness get the best of her. For anyone who's kept their eye on Brian Cox's impressive career, you'd know that he's never been one to hold back from what he wants to say. The 77-year-old Scottish actor certainly calls it like he sees it. And when you've won an Emmy Award, a Golden Globe Award, and a Screen Actors Guild Award during your career, you probably earned that right. Think about it. Who's gonna be the one brave enough to tell him to shut up? Brian Cox plays a Bond villain, sort of. Cox joined Ripa and Mark Consuelos on Live to talk about his new game show, 007, Road to a Million. The new game show features 9 pairs of everyday people who are sent on a global adventure. Although similar to The Amazing Race, what sets 007, Road to a Million apart is its supposed flair for the dramatic. The contestants are put through a series of Bond-inspired challenges for a shot at winning the hefty cash prize. Cox stars as the controller, the man who is controlling it all. According to Cox, he joined 007, Road to a Million, because he thought he'd have a chance to star in the new Bond movie. I thought it was the new James Bond movie. I thought, well, finally, I'll get to play a Bond villain, Cox said. So I went, yeah, I'll do that. That's fine, that's good. But then I realized, they haven't got a James Bond. They don't have a script. Despite playing the villain in the show, Cox says that contestants never actually had a chance to interact with him. He told Ripa and Consuelos that the show was already complete by the time he filmed his part. Although Ripa sounded disappointed for the contestants, Cox offered up a quick rebuttal. No, I think if they heard my voice they'd be even more terrified, joked Cox. Ripa's nosiness leads to funny moment, but before Cox had a chance to speak about his experience on 007, Road to a Million, the conversation started with his personal life. Cox has been married 3 times in his life. His first marriage to Lillian Monroe Kerr lasted barely a year. His second marriage had a little more staying power. Cox and Caroline Burt were married for 18 years before divorcing in 1986. In 2002, Cox married Nicole Insari. The couple have remained together ever since. Consuelos asked Cox about the secret behind his third marriage's success. We hear you and your wife have figured out the perfect living arrangement in the house. Tell us about it, Consuelos said to Cox. Cox fired back, separate bedrooms, to the surprise of the studio audience. We've been together for 25 years, married for 23, and that's the success of a... Cox said before his mic was cut off for a few seconds. By the time his mic was restored, the crowd was laughing as Cox finished his story. We draw lots when we see one another, when we're allowed to visit each other's bedrooms. After Consuelos asked whether he meant if it was similar to visitation rights, Cox agreed. Visitation lots, yes. Ripa looked stunned as she soaked in the information, but in her typical fashion, she needed to dig even deeper. So what happens on visitation day? She asked Cox. Without missing a beat, he told her, well, that's my business, not yours, as he chuckled along with the rowdy crowd. What do you think happens on visitation day? Cox jokingly asked Ripa. Are you surprised by Brian Cox's confession? Let us know what you think in the comments section.